With great pleasure, let me now bring on board Mr. Pradeep Chaudhary, Chairman and Managing Director of State Bank of India, India's biggest bank. Mr. Chaudhary, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Chaudhary, you had asked for banks to be allowed to raise infra bonds, but that did not happen. Instead, some institutions have been allowed to do so. Has there been any further communication with the government on this regard?
Well, we had put in some requests, but anyway, we understand the difficult fiscal situation that the finance minister in. So we quite understand the position. We'll have to see as we go along. But certainly a large number of tax-free bonds make it more difficult for the banks to mobilize fixed deposits.
Right, Mr. Chaudhary, morning. The banking sector had put up a demand for better tax treatment on savings deposits in the budget, but that hasn't come through. How big a challenge will deposit growth be for banks like yours going forward?
So if we are not there, it doesn't matter who else is there from our side. But this again underscores the point that, bank deposit interest in terms of taxation is most disadvantageously placed, and if this situation continues, deposit growth would remain a challenge. So we are constantly working with the government to remove the handicaps that the bank deposit interest has vis-a-vis other forms of savings. And if that doesn't happen, then the financial savings percentage as a total savings would certainly decline.
Mr. Chaudhary, there have been several moves to incentivize home buyers in the budget. State Bank of India has been one of the most aggressive players in the home loan market of late. Will these moves help SBI?
Oh, I think that's definitely very helpful, and it is already, our home loan book is showing very good growth. So I think that should accelerate, and home building in general for the industry is a very big boost to the overall economic development.
Mr. Chaudhary, what is your take on instruments like inflation indexed bonds? Will they take off in the current scheme of things, and how will it help in reducing the demand for gold?
I have not seen that as a precedent anywhere in the world, but yes, if it is experimented in India, I think the project would be largely with the Reserve Bank of India. So let's see what happens when they issue the first of such bonds.
Mr. Chaudhary, will you be looking at securitization of home loans, and now that there is clarity that the SPV for securitization will not be taxed?
Not particularly, because we have excess liquidity and we like to have the home loan on our books. And in fact, on the contrary, we have bought securitized paper, but we have not securitized our home loan portfolio. But going forward, yes, if that becomes a necessity, then this is a good enabler.
Mr. Chaudhary, how much fund infusion are you expecting from the government in FY14, and what are your requirements for the year? Will you be looking at a QIP or an FPO in FY14?
So that has to be decided in consultation with the government. Last year, the total allocation was 13,000 crores and we received 3,000 crores. So out of 14,000 crores, maybe we'll make a request for a similar amount.
What is your outlook on asset quality? Have things stabilized in Q4, or will we end up seeing similar levels of NPA in this quarter as well?
First 3 quarters, you see, have not been uniform. First quarter was relatively difficult. Second and 3 quarters, the matters improved progressively. So we expect a progressive improvement. And fourth quarter, generally, all stops are given and all punches are pulled to bring down the NPA, and even the CDR desks work over time. So fourth quarter NPA numbers, I think we would like to put our best foot forward.
Mr. Chaudhary, the mid-quarterly policy review is due in about 10 days. What are your expectations, and what's the outlook on lending rates going forward?
I think we can only make a recommendation, we cannot make an expectation. But now that the inflation has become stable and come down, and what RBI has been saying, that there is a lot of suppressed inflation in fuel prices, so government has largely addressed them, and the rest of it is also in the process of being addressed. I think it's a good time to start cutting the interest rates. And in interest rates, I think timing is very important. My view is sooner the better. And I think the speed with which we took the interest rates up, we should show similar speed promptness and alacrity in bringing down the interest rate. So our recommendation to RBI would be to make a 0.5% cut, 0.5% cut in CRR and a similar cut in the repo rate.
Mr. Chaudhary, could you give us a sense of your margins going forward into the fourth quarter? Are you on track to meet your margin guidance for this quarter, which was a little over 3%?
No, it's not 3.5, it's 3.70 to 3.75 on the domestic book. So I think we'll very comfortably meet those guidances.
And will your international margins still remain a draw on your overall margins, or can we expect things to improve in the fourth quarter?
The international side, I think the margins are a function of availability of long-term assets. So now the bank is able to pick up significant amount of long-term assets, which are generally typically higher yield. So our margins outlook is relatively better than what it was 3 months back.
What kind of growth have you seen in your home and auto loan product of late?
I think that has been the biggest surprise and a pleasant one at that. Our entire loan book, I was slightly hesitant and I had committed to 16 to 18%. It's already currently running at 19% on a year-on-year basis, and it is quite likely that we end up the year with a 20-21% growth rate. And in that, all segments are contributing: corporate, retail, agriculture, SME. All things are performing very well. So in home loan, generally our per month growth used to be 1500 crores, but it is now currently running at 2500 crores. And car loans also, average daily sanctions used to be 1200 or 1300, currently it is running at 2000. And from the estimates that we collect, because estimates vary depending on who is preparing them, we think we are now in the new car loan financing, we are number 1. And in home loan, apart from the new home loans that are coming in, we are getting a lot of requests and a lot of proposal for switchover of home loans from other home finance companies.
Mr. Chaudhary, what's the status on Kingfisher then? Have you sent a formal notification to KFA with regards to recall of loans?
See, it is not right for me to comment on individual accounts on a TV media, and in case you want greater information for your audience, it would be only in fitness of things that we should have the company representatives present alongside. But as our DMD, Mr. Acharya, has already made it public, there are several banks in the consortium, and the banks have unanimously decided to call up the loan, and the remaining of the recovery procedure would proceed thereafter.